Okay, so what I want to show you here is how to solve a quadratic equation using the quadratic formula. Now, you've probably seen it before, but maybe you didn't, maybe you liked it, maybe you didn't. It's really great as long as you can identify three important numbers. We have number A, we have number B, and we have number C, and they're right inside of here, okay? So the idea goes that the number in front of the x squared, okay, is the A. So A is whatever number is right there. Now, you don't see a number there, but there's a 1 there. So in this case, A is 1. And then B is the number that's in front of the x. Now, the sign goes with it. This is positive 4, and so B is equal to positive 4, okay? And then C is whatever number is at the end here, okay? And so the sign goes along with it. So in this case, C is equal to negative 45. So as long as you're able to correctly identify A, B, and C, and then you just plug A goes here and here, B goes here and here, and C only goes over here. So A goes here and here. Whatever B is, it goes here. Now this negative is not a part of the B. So when we put that 4 in here, we're not going to put positive. We're not going to change this. We're going to leave it as negative, and then 4. So it's going to be negative 4. Okay? And then we're going to put the 4 in here and then square it. And then C will go over here. I use a lot of parentheses when I'm using the quadratic formula, so you may want to be careful to do that. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to identify A, B, and C. So over on the side, I'm going to say A is equal to 1. I'm going to say B is equal to 4. And I'm going to say C is equal to negative 45. Okay? And once I identify A, B, and C, now all I have to do is take my formula and rewrite it just as it is and replace the A with a 1, the B with a 4, and the C with a negative 45. So I'm going to write X is equal to negative B, so that's negative, and then I'll put the B here, that's 4. Plus or minus. What does plus or minus mean? Plus or minus just means that this is actually two answers. We have negative B plus this over 2A, and then we have negative B minus this over 2A. All right? And so I'm going to put plus or minus, and then the square root, and I have B squared. So B is 4, so I'm going to put 4 in the parentheses, and then square it, minus 4 times A. In this case, A is 1. And in this case, C is negative 45. Good. And then the whole thing is over 2 times A. In this case, A, again, is 1. And so what I now want to do is, the way I do it very carefully, is I resolve all my parentheses. So I'm going to change this negative parenthesis 4 to just negative 4. So I'm going to say X is equal to negative 4. Then I'm going to bring down the plus or minus. Then I'm going to draw my radical here, my square root. 4 squared is 16. This number is never going to be negative. Okay, if you have a negative 4 and square it, if you key it in the calculator wrong, if you key in negative 4 and then squared, it's going to give you negative 16. You have to put parentheses around it. It's parenthesis negative 4, close parenthesis, to the power of 2. Now it's going to be negative 4 times negative 4, which is positive 16. Okay, but in this case, it's positive 4 times positive 4. Okay. This number is always going to be a positive number. If you put a negative number here, you're already doing it wrong. Okay? Then we're going to minus. Now, one way to think about it is this is negative 4 times 1 times negative 45. So you could think of it that way. So think of this as a negative 4. So let's get rid of this minus. So negative 4 times 1 times negative 45. And you may want to key this into a calculator. Negative 4 times 1 is negative 4. Negative 4 times negative 45 winds up being 180, but I can do that in my head. You may need to put it in a calculator. So this whole thing is 180, but it's positive because we have a negative times a positive, which is negative. Then a negative times a negative is a positive. So it winds up being plus 180. Okay? And now it's going to be all over, and then 2 times 1 is just 2. Okay? Now what we want to do is we want to do what's under the radical here. So we have X is equal to negative 4 plus or minus the square root of 16 plus 180 is 196, and the whole thing is over 2. Now, here's where we're able to do step 3. So we decided on the quadratic equation, and step 3 tells us, do we have 2 real solutions, 1 real solution, or do we have two complex solutions? Well, it's based on this number under the radical. This number that's right here is called the discriminant. Discriminant. That's that number. Now, the discriminant is not the square root of 196. The discriminant is 196. So over here, I'm going to say the discriminant is positive. It's a positive number. So we have three possibilities. The discriminant can be positive. The discriminant can be negative. And the third possibility is the discriminant can be 0. These are the only three positive. Any number can only be positive, negative, or 0. Okay? Well, this determines whether we have two real solutions, two complex solutions, or one real solution. So, if the discriminant is positive, then there are two real solutions. If the discriminant is negative, then there are two complex solutions. And if the discriminant is 0, then there is one real solution. Okay? So in this case, the discriminant is positive, so there are two real solutions. All right? There are two real solutions. Okay, so we identified that. Now we can actually solve for what the solutions are. Now, you can identify whether the square root of 196 is a perfect square. In this case, the square root of 196 is 14. So I'm going to say x is equal to negative 4 plus or minus 14 over 2. And now what I'm going to do is, now that I've done this, and I can do it on the previous step or here, is I'm going to split it up into two answers. I'm going to identify my solutions. One of them is going to be negative 4 plus 14 over 2. The other one is x is equal to negative 4 minus 14 over 2. See, I've broken up the plus and minus. So look, there's two real solutions. One of them is negative 4 plus 14 over 2. The other one is negative 4 minus 14 over 2. Well, let's go ahead and solve those. Negative 4 plus 14, if you did that in the calculator, you would get 10. 10 divided by 2 is 5. So one of our solutions is 5. The other one is negative 4 minus 14. That's negative 18. Negative 18 divided by 2 is negative 9. That's our other solution. And so our two solutions are 5 and negative 9. Okay? And so here's what we did. We identified A, B, and C. We put A, B, and C into the formula. Then we did some arithmetic and came up with this. Then we checked to see if this is a perfect square, and it is. And we also saw that the discriminant is positive, so we knew that there are two real solutions. We solved the square root of 196, which is 14. Then we separated it into two solutions. Negative 4 plus 14 over 2, and then negative 4 minus 14 over 2. And then we solved those, and we came up with our two solutions for this quadratic equation, and they are both real solutions. So that's an example of how to use the quadratic equation. I'm going to do some more examples of the quadratic equation, but something else I'm going to do is I'm going to do this exact same question, but I'm going to show you how to do completing the square.